Hi, this is Fernando Herboso with Maxus Realty Group, reallynicehomes.com, and today I'm going to continue with my home selling tips video series I'm doing for home sellers in order for them to sell their properties for the most money at the right timing. And today I'm going to be talking about a very touchy subject, which is divorce. When you split, quit, and ready to list. Many couples going through a divorce have as their biggest asset their homes, what the attorneys call the marital residence. Deciding what to do about your home if you're going through a divorce should be left to the advice of your own attorneys and a judge if needed. But if selling is in your plans, these are some tips to help you go through the process. And your first step should be always to get a neutral appraisal. How much is your house worth? The biggest problem that I see many couples make on this part is that each of them hire their own realtors and they're trying to find out what the value of the property is. And there is no agreement between the two. There is sometimes problems. Then this is a very important information if you want to do the right thing when you're getting a divorce. Because how much your house is worth should be the determining factor of what is your next step from that point on. And for that reason, my advice is to hire a professional appraiser and get a neutral appraisal of the property so you know exactly how much the house is worth. And from that point now, you can make the right decisions for the both of you. Now that you know exactly how much your house is worth, then you need to understand that there are costs associated with selling a home. And this is more important is that during the process of selling a property in a divorce case, you have to understand that we consider that as a distress sale. And during a distress sale, sometimes you are not going to be able to get what we call the most money for the property. So when you take that in consideration, plus the cost of selling a home, sometimes those numbers could be so low that might be you may have to make a different decision, basically what to do from this point on. You know, and if you after you determine if selling is a good idea, you may find out that you may be underwater. After paying all the costs, you're gonna be owing more to the bank than what your house is really worth. And if you're underwater, then one of the options you may have is that one of the spouses may be able to keep the house while you're waiting for this house to go up in value and selling it later on. And obviously, you know, this has got to be something that is going to fit, you know, the type of separation that you may have. And obviously you have to talk to an accountant to making sure that you're doing the right things. Because it has to be financially benefit to both parties, not just to just one person. In another case, you may be able to ask your lender to give you an approval for a short sale. In this case, you sell the property, you don't owe anybody any money left, and get rid of the property, and everybody goes their separate ways. A short sale is a good option when a divorce case comes out where the divorce itself is the hardship that can help them get the approval from the lender. Another option is to refinance the house and then pay the portion allocated to the other party, to the other spouse, so they can walk away from the house. So you refinance the house, you get the money, you have enough money to pay off the spouse that is walking away. Obviously, this has to be mutually agreeable between the two, but at the same time, you may have to check with your lender and making sure that you're telling them about the plans that you're doing on this. You have to understand that in the sale process of a house, it's not just the note, but it's also the title of the house, which is in both instances, you know, the people that are associated with that particular part of the sale of the property, they have to be present to sign for the house. You cannot just give money to somebody and then just walk away. You have to actually sign documentation prepared by attorney to making sure that you are getting paid for the portion that you agree with your spouse, and you're walking away from the house, but at the same time, you still have responsibilities over the house in case something happens later on. For that reason, you have to check with an attorney for this and making sure that if you're walking away, you're getting a portion of your equity of the house, making sure that your name is off the title and off the deed of the house. Now, once you decided that maybe selling is a good idea, who to hire is a very important decision for you to help you sell the property. This is going to be a real estate broker, somebody who's experienced in selling, but most importantly, somebody who has good communication skills and understanding both sides, that it will assume a neutral position between the two parties. Somebody who's experienced, who knows how to sell, but most importantly knows how to deal with the different emotions that goes through a divorce, making sure that everybody is in the same boat, basically, to accomplish the goal of selling the property. Because when everybody is together and going through the same goal, going and trying to achieve a common goal, it takes somebody with leadership qualities to making sure that everybody is agreeable and everybody is doing the right things for this to happen. And this is really one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make when they're going through a divorce and they hire the wrong person. Somebody who may be weak, somebody who may be more likely pushing to the benefit of one person over the other person, and at the end, the results can be disastrous. So we have preparation, responsibility, and the showing details. That is the next step to making sure that you are going to be in a position to allocate who is going to help with the preparation of the house. Who's going to be responsible about this? And a good realtor should be able to allocate those responsibilities to one person to making sure that it gets done and they are held accountable for it. And a lot of times, the realtor must assume that role because the persons need that. The showing details is another important factor when selling a property, because one spouse might not be too happy about one reason or another, and they may create a lot of obstacles trying to show the property. This is a very important factor in order for you to sell the property for the most money. And even to sell the property, you have to show the property. And sometimes those problems arise because there is a disagreement between the two couples. For that reason, everything has to be mutually agreeable before the house is put on the market. The next part is the future housing responsibilities, and this is also allocated towards the realtor, because the realtor is responsible to making sure that there is one party that is still living in the house that they're going to have to go somewhere else. And that realtor has to orchestrate the timing perfectly to making sure that there's no more distress to the homeowner, to the spouse that's moving. Most likely there's going to be the other spouse already moved out of the house, and that is no problem. But the person that's staying in the house, they have to have a place to live. And the realtor helping you sell the property should take responsibility, making sure that everything is done accordingly. And it's orchestrated in such a fashion that there is little distress to the person moving out of the house. Most of the time it's a family with children. Because removing emotions during a divorce sale is very hard to achieve, and this is very unfortunate, because we see many times many couples go through life in such a way that you see they are an example of what a good marriage should be, but when it comes time when they make a decision to get a divorce, they become a different person. And it's not really the level of education each party may have or how much intellect they share, because when it comes down to divorce, all that goes out to the window. It's all about emotions. And that's really why it's very important that you get a realtor to help you sell your property who has knowledge of the divorce cases, and at the same time has the communication skills to making sure everybody is aligned to the same goal that you're trying to achieve. What are the tax benefits of selling it now? When you sell your primary residence, you can make up to $500,000 in profit and not owe any capital gain taxes. This is up to $250,000 if you're a single person. But you have up to $500,000 in profit, and you do not have to pay any capital gain taxes. And this is thanks to the Taxpayer Relief Act of 1997. For that reason, you have to consider this is a very important factor, especially if you've been in the house for a long time and you've been married for a long time and you have accumulated a lot of money on the house, which is the equity that you're going to get once you sell the property. This is a way to save a lot of money on taxes. And now I would like to remove the cloud of emotions during the process of a divorce. Thinking on keeping the home for sentimental reasons. Sometimes we see that one of the spouse, they want to do that. And they're really adamant to say, I want to stay on this house. This is my house. This is what I was have my children or whatever. But then they're not thinking rationally, because they really don't understand if they're asking this question, can you really afford it? That's a very key question to ask yourself. I see many instances where two people could hardly afford a house, much less one person staying in the house and taking over all the responsibilities to pay for it. So I'm going to discuss some of the problems that I see based on my experience when I see so many people going to a divorce and selling their properties. One of the problems that I see is that sometimes one spouse wants to sell and the other does not. And what happens then? A lot of times it's because there is completely disagreement on everything that they want to do. They want to hurt each other. And one person wants out of the house. They want to sell. Most of the time it's the person who leaves the house first, and that's the one that wants to sell the property. And the person that stays in the house doesn't want to sell. They want to stay in a house because they actually need a house to live. Sometimes those are the things that has to be talked about with an attorney to making sure that you're doing the right things. No one can advise you to sell or not to sell unless you have agreement between the two, and usually getting your own attorneys will be a great advice for you on this reason, because it makes sense that in order for you to achieve a common goal, everybody has to be on the same line. What happens if one of the spouse abandons the home and basically walk away and they're completely missing? What will happen to the other spouse who stays in the house, does not know what to do? This is the time for you to be able to talk and hire an attorney to see what are your options. Because you cannot sell the property by yourself. Even if you cannot get in touch with your spouse, they walk away, they may be out of the country, it doesn't matter. You need the signatures in order for you to do something with that house. And the longer you wait, the more your problem will be compounded. So that's the reason why you need to hire an attorney, to make sure to find out what are your options, so then the attorney can help you do the right things from that point on. But you cannot sell a house by yourself. You have to have the other person there as well, if they're in the deed or the title. Wholesaling the house for a quick separation. Sometimes this option exists when people don't really care how much money they're going to get from the house. They just want out. They want peace of mind. And a good realtor should be able to give you this option, that you want to wholesale the property, then you can wholesale the property, sell it very quickly, and be done with. So this is another option that we offer in our services to be able to help people who are going through a divorce. The problem that I see sometimes is ruining each other's credit when the trust factor ends from a happy marriage to a bad marriage and everybody's trying to hurt each other. It doesn't make sense, that you're doing this to a person that who once profess love to, or they're the parents of your children, that you want to making sure that the credit gets destroyed, which is a very vindictive way to try to hurt someone who is the parents of your children, who is a parent of your children. This does not make any sense. You need to remove that emotion from your head and trying to making sure that the person remains intact as far as their credit is concerned, because at the end everybody will benefit, especially if you have children, because you may be getting a divorce, but the person will always remain part of your life because they're parents to your children. Don't make that mistake. Co-ownership for the kids' sake. Sometimes there's a deferred sale for a property, and a judge may give you this. Maybe there will be an accordance between the attorneys and yourselves, but you can have a house, live at the house because a child may be going to high school and may need a couple more years to finish high school, and they don't want to move them from the school district, or for some reason you're waiting for the children to grow older, and that may be a good solution to a problem. And at the same time, it will be called as a deferred sale. You're going to sell it at the time when it needs to be sold, and go with the proceeds according to the divorce decree. But then you need to speak to an attorney, but especially to an accountant, because there are deductions on the property. When you're paying for a mortgage payment, there are deductions that are allocated maybe to just one single person and not the both of you. And someone's going to have to take advantage of these deductions. This is a very important part that has to be agreed on before you make this decision. But most importantly, involve an accountant on this. The short-term use of the house during the sale. This is basically when two people are still living in the house. They know they're getting separated. They know they're going to get a divorce, but not one wants to leave, or there is some kind of disagreement on that. You have to really agree. In most cases, you're going to have one spouse using the house during the sale of the property. And this is a very key area to making sure that everybody's on the same page, because they may have a change of hearts during this process, and then they're going to start possibly sabotaging the sale of the property. So this is a very important factor when it comes down when someone is using a property as a short term. They need to understand it is a short term until the house gets sold. Based on my experiences in a professional way and also in a private life, I can assure you some divorces are like the game of tug of war. The dad is on one side, the mom is on the other side, and their children playing the role of the rope. By all means, try to avoid doing this to your own children. My name is Fernando Rebozo with Maxus Realty Group. Phone number is 301-246-0001. When results are important, please give me a call, especially if you're getting a divorce. You need someone with good communication skills, experience enough to keep everybody on the same page so you can sell your property and go on with your life. Thank you. Have a great day.